It's race day at the Nürburgring. The Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS Endurance Cup, sees its fourth weekend of the season, and we are about to get ready for qualifying. What a difference a day makes. Yesterday, there was patchy rain around with a bit of sunshine trying to break through. Not today. Nürburgring has done what it does best, kept us guessing. And in terms of the weather, there's absolutely no question about what tyres to go for in qualifying. It's wet tyres all the way. This is going to make for a very interesting challenge for the drivers and teams, and particularly for our race this afternoon of 3 hours, we're in for a very interesting starting grid. Down in the pits, trying to keep dry will be Gemma Scott. In the commentary box, just a little bit drier than her, Jake Sanson and John Watson. This is going to be a thrilling qualifying.
Wet, wet, wet. Look at the pit straight. You can see how much water has been falling, how much is standing. Now, we've just seen the McLaren Trophy Europe on track, and they were struggling. So let's have a quick look at this Nürburgring circuit. 5.137 kilometers, 16 turns. And once again, the tracker's trying to outpace me as we come up to the conclusion of a lap. And into turn 17, it says 16 on the then, we've got 17. Slight confusion between the map and the information, but hey, it's raining here at Nürburgring. Do we really worry about it?
And there's 3.199 miles of the circuit in the shadow of the Nordschleife with an additional 12 miles of circuit covered. There is an event going on there. They're going to have a very tough time of it, but as you can see, the rainfall is constant and consistent. So it's definitely going to be a tricky qualifying session. Wet session, lights on for all cars. So it's definitely going to be an interesting one as the first name drivers in each team is getting ready to go out onto the circuit. That means for the key players in the number 98 Rovet BMW, it's going to be Philip Eng in the car first. And for the championship leaders who struggled yesterday in the free practice and pre-qualifying sessions, this is an opportunity for them to bounce back.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult conditions, 15-minute sessions, 54 cars on track, and a track that is getting wetter literally by the second, let alone by the minute. We did see on Friday in one of their, what they call a paid test session number 1 in wet conditions. There was a 998 BMW driven, I believe, by, I think it was Dan Harper, but we've got different views on that. Anyway, that lap time was at 2 minutes and 6 seconds. So that's going to be a benchmark time we should expect to look for in these 3 qualifying segments.
So down in the pit lane, Gemma Scott is preparing for the start of qualifying.
Augusto, I arrived at the circuit this morning about an hour ago. It was dry, I was in short sleeve t-shirts and sunglasses, and now we've got miserable rain just in time for qualifying.
Yeah, hopefully you have kept the clothes, because knowing the Nordschleife weather, the Nürburgring weather, it might be sunshine the next 10 minutes, so we knew the rain was coming. It's going to mix a little bit the cards. I think with 12 pace from yesterday, the rain might play in our hands. Let's see. I think it will be all about trying to get a clean lap. Yeah. Be lucky with the yellows and be opportunistic, because as soon as the rain will stop, I think the track will evolve, and that will be the time to set the lap. So let's see.
Yeah, absolutely. Yesterday, you guys seemed to be struggling a little bit. We didn't see the BMWs featuring particularly in the timings.
No, I mean it is a kind of a track which seems to not fit well to our car. We were struggling to find the right grip yesterday, so we tried different directions. We have a new direction in the car today. Unfortunately, we cannot verify if it's the right one. It's wet. But I mean, let's see. Let's try to focus on qualifying, put our car as further up as possible, and then fight in the race.
Thanks, Augusto. Have a good one.
Yeah.
Good to hear from Augusto Farfus there, preparing in the WRT BMW number 46. That comes back a little bit to what you were saying yesterday, John, about how everybody's pretty much decided to go for the setup for dry, because that's what we were predicted this afternoon for the 3-hour race. Now, goodness knows what the right call is going to be.
Well, certainly the availability to make an adjustment to your car is available. So these cars were not necessarily parc fermé situation. So track is, you can see as the cars came onto the track from the pit lane exit, just how much water has fallen. I mean, that amount of rain has been in the last 15 minutes, and visibility is going to be primarily the biggest issue. I mean, you can almost see coming down the pit lane, hold on a second, just don't try and pull out and go across that white demarcation line, because that is a penalty if you do so. Down into turn 3, you can see how much water there is on the racetrack. We saw certainly yesterday when we went on track for the first of those 2 sessions, how slippery the track was with a fraction of the amount of rain that we have now on the racetrack. And in fact, Jake, you know, in these circumstances, you've got the 88 Mercedes just pulling ahead. So this is Raffaele Marcello wanting to put himself in the best possible position to get the best visibility, to get the best opportunity. But even he was struggling coming out of turn 6. You can hear the wheels spin just as the car broke traction on a little bit of standing water running across the circuit. Again, standing water coming down into the bottom of the lowest part of the circuit. So difficult conditions. And how many cars have we got on track? We've maybe got about a dozen at most. There's another 35 or 40 yet to go.
And of course, this is with wet tyres on. This is how tricky it is. Look at the soaring away of the wheel that Raffaele Marcello is having to do just to get some traction.
Again, look, coming between the Schumacher S's and up into turn 10, there's water running diagonally across the racetrack, standing water. You can see it again between 10 and 11. And that, for drivers, that Marcello can see it, he's got clear visibility. But for those that are following behind, or maybe mid-pack, they're not going to be aware of where that's standing. Can somebody turn the wipers on the camera, please? We can't make out where we are.
That's the VDOL, and you can't see the headland. You can't really see the top of the trees. What is it they say at the Nürburgring? If you can see the headland, it's about to rain. If you can't, then it is.
Well, look, Marcello coming up to conclude his outlap. It's more like a speedboat than a race car. So tons and tons of water on the racetrack. Now, it's the cloud base is sinking lower as well. So we have rain and a lowering cloud base, all of which is, and again, Marcello using different parts of the pit straight. Oh, there we go. This is the Parker Porsche, and that's up at the chicane. So that's rotated Derek Pierce. That's the first car we have seen so far, and that was on its outlap.
Yeah, that's the Schumacher S that he's gone off there, so he manages to get it going again, fortunately with clear track to make sure he can do so. But it's the standing water, that's the real danger of these situations. And the rain is still going, so it's only going to get worse. Here it happens, we're only going to see a bit of it.
Yeah, but Derek Pierce would probably not been able to have seen the water standing between the entry and the exit back to Marcello, so his visibility is about to be compromised as he catches up to cars that are just on their outlap. But expect Marcello to go initially the quickest of all. Whether he will remain so, we've got how many minutes remaining in the session? About just over 10 minutes remaining, and hardly a recorded time as yet by anybody. Marcello should be the first to record a time, and again, he's now going to find himself, how am I going to find a way past a car coming up into the S's? But he does it because he's just that much quicker out of the lowest part of the racetrack up the hill, and that was one of the garage fit. Look at the thing. That is standing water, and those are really tough conditions. So let's sit on board with Raffaele Marcello. He is going to entertain us. This up through turn 10 and 11. Again, that water. So he's got the best visibility of anybody out there, and he's going to be the quickest car on track, I'm assuming. Partly because of visibility, but partly because he's just a bit of an ace in the rain.
Well, this is why you want to go out onto the circuit in these conditions first. You want to be the first one out. Goodness me, that is a scary moment through the right.
Well, you have to do what you got to do, and Marcello certainly illustrated that he's prepared to hang it out to get that lap in before he then finds himself embedded in the rest of the field. So we're still waiting for a time to be established. It's going to be Marcello is going to be the first car to come across start-finish line to record a time.
That's a perfect lap in the conditions that you're presented with. He's done a very good job considering a 2 minutes 17.3. That's the benchmark. And off over at the Schumacher S, that is the Almanar Mercedes that was quickest in pre-qualifying yesterday, just skating off the road in the hands of Maro Engel.
Of all people, Maro Engel. So let's go back to on board with Raffaele Marcello down at turn 2. And looking, he's not using the full width of the circuit that's available. He's looking for the bits that he think are going to give him the best level or degree of grip, and coming through turn 3 now, through 4. Stay away from abusing track limits. Again, just under acceleration, catching standing water on the back end, snapping away.
Well, this is going to play havoc with the average times combined from the 3 sessions, isn't it? Because it's all going to be about which driver has the most confidence in these conditions. It's got nothing to do with car setup. It's got nothing to do with car brand anymore. It all comes down to how natural the driver is going to feel in these conditions. Who's going to get the best of it? We could get a real lottery of a grid for the race later.
You possibly could, but I don't know how much change teams would have made, taking into account that, as we heard Gemma saying when she got here around about 7:45 this morning, It was a lovely morning.
It was.
Now, looking to my right, the castle which sits outside the racetrack, it's just about visible, and let's just say the cloud base has descended, and there, look at the rain, the 98 BMW making its way down the hill. Where is it?
You can't see the next
Porsche
corner.
you can't see it. Here we are on board of the 98. So look at the visibility. I mean, you can only see almost, it's more your peripheral vision. Remember, the onboard cameras are actually able to sort of cut their way through that mist, rain, spray, almost better than the human eye can. Up the Ferrari, and all of a sudden, all over the back of it, whoa! I mean, that is getting messy, and this is getting actually marginal as to whether it's safe.
Well, that was a scary moment for the Ferrari, dropping it in the Schumacher S, and well done to Philipp Eng for reacting the way he did.
I mean, Philipp Eng has gone second quickest to Marcello, but he's 2 seconds away from Marcello. Third fastest is the 55 Porsche, and that's the dynamic GT car. So that's, you know, you've got a Mercedes, BMW, Porsche, but I mean, it's about, can you see where you are on the racetrack?
And how much confidence have you got on the brake pedal? How much temperature have you managed to get in the brakes on the outlap to commit to every corner? Look at Philipp Eng working the steering wheel. This is where you really earn your bread and butter. And there goes the 52 Ferrari having gone off the road.
That's Louis Machiels. Look, yeah, 52.
It is, yeah.
That's Louis Machiels, yes. So he's moved on from the 488. He's now got the 296 incarnation, where you can see virtually
red flag.
Well, there we go. I mean,
not exactly a surprise.
Not a surprise at all, because conditions have deteriorated since the session got underway. They just become worse and worse. And it's been, because of the number of cars on track, 54 cars. In fact, it's, well, yes, 52 cars are recorded a lap, 2 cars. Christopher Mies, funnily enough, has not even gone out in the 25 Audi.
That's really interesting. They decided, well, either they've decided not to go out or they've had a problem that means they can't get out. But you mentioned about the Schloss to our right. Looking at it, it used to be a castle. Now it's a watercolour painting.
Well, I mean, I tell you what, if it is, it's got to be a Turner, because everything is basically an interpretation of what you're looking at. And I mean, just the cloud base has come down, the rain is falling heavilier and heavilier. There's the Ferrari still, but that's the reason why the red flag has been thrown, because the car, Louis Machiels, has not been able to get back onto circuit, so it's in a position considered to be unsafe, and they want to remove that car in the event. And that's again up at the is the Schumacher S's?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's assume that we're going to get a position similar to this order for the end of the first session. Raffaele Marcello is on top with a 2:17.3. Then Philipp Eng in the Rove BMW on a 2:18.1. So he actually caught up to within 7/10 of a second on that lap. Great work from Philipp Eng.
Yeah.
Then you have Ben Barker in the bronze dynamic GT Porsche in third. Arjun Maini in the Haupt Mercedes. You know, that car was in bits yesterday. Now he's up in 4th position on the grid so far, just in front of Lorenzo Ferrari in the Mercedes Acadis ASP number 87 in 5th.
I mean, you might say are there some competitors out of position? Well, no, they're not. This is qualifying, and they are there as bona fide lap times. Now, looking at that view, that rear view, it doesn't look that bad. That's from Chris Frogger's Sky Tempesta McLaren, but he's only going at 50 kilometers per hour under red flag conditions. So Louis Machiels has now got his car rolling.
Now, interestingly, there is a second car that's been identified as having spun off there. So Louis Machiels has gone off, but I don't think he was the only one to spin off. No, he wasn't.
Was another lap? Is that the Barwell Lamborghini?
It is. And it wasn't the only one. Whoops, there goes the number 3 Get Speed Mercedes. Drifting, 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 and a lovely little pirouette with Pike.
Again, caught standing water at the edge of the track. That's Louis Machiels going off in his Ferrari 296.
Apparently Mukovoz went off in the 66 Audi as well at that point, the Trezor Attempto Racing bronze car that he shares with Kiko Gabbiati and Dylan Pereira, but we didn't actually see that car spin off. We also had the Optima McLaren going off at turn 13, Charlie Fagg at the wheel of that one. What else can we tell you? Well, 6th position so far, Max Hess in the 998 Rove BMW that was very quick yesterday. Enrique Chavez, he is taking advantage of every opportunity given to him, isn't he? 7th position so far in the session. He's having a great season in that McLaren.
I mean, he's been one of the discoveries to me through the season, and again, he's the lead McLaren, the 188 Garage 59. entry. Hugo Chavez, Miguel Ramos, and looking at Pilet. So the three of them are in a very, very strong position. That's a bronze car.
Despite the spin for Louis Machiels, not a bad session so far for Ferrari. They are 9th and 13th. A good effort from Davide Rigon and Alessio Rivera, who were clearly told, get on with it. This is our chance to get up the order. The leading BMW is actually Philipp Eng, but Hess is in there in the top 6. Also Jens Klingmann in the 31 WRT. That's the leading WRT, ahead of Valentino Rossi in his, who is in 18th position.
Yeah, and Rossi's just behind Simonauer in the 30 BMW. So BMWs are now in the sort of the top half of the field, where we saw on Saturday afternoon that they were slightly further down than in the top half. But busy pit lane, there's the 23, or I beg your pardon, it's the 23rd position. Dries van Thor in the 32, just getting rotated and pushed back into the very tight pit lane.
Well, this is, of course, what the rain creates in terms of an opportunity for BMW. This has basically been their saving grace, hasn't it? They can get back into the action with the wet conditions because it throws so many variables up into the air.
Yeah, Chris Froggatt just tightening the belts down a little bit more, because normally when you go out and do a run, that car currently is 27th quickest, so Chris Froggatt did a 2 minutes 26.
So down in the pits, Gemma has found Thomas Drouet of the Mercedes Acodis ASP team. I wonder what he's got to say about the conditions.
Thomas, the conditions are really tricky out there. There seems to be a lot of surface water. Obviously, you're due to get in the car for the second session, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, for sure, this is a lot of rain now. Yesterday we had a bit of rain in the session, but now it's really a lot of rain on the track. I think it's really tricky. We see like really a lot of spin on track, but you never know what to expect on this place, so that's why we like it. And yeah, I can't wait to jump and see what we can do.
Visibility seems to be quite difficult as well.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of cars, so it's really tricky, and that's the job of the engineer to, you know, to put us on track on a good position. And now we try to do a good gap, but you never know because some people are slowing down, and so it's a bit tricky, but you know, we have to manage it and see, you know, how it goes.
Love it, thank you very much. I love that you're excited to get out there. That shows how much certain drivers love wet and certain drivers love the dry. But just a quick report back as well on the 25 Santalok Audi, Chris Mees car that we spoke just about a little bit earlier on in the commentary. He's been in for a setup change this morning. They weren't happy after the first lap, so they came in, made a few changes. No other problem with the car to report, and they're looking forward to getting back out on track.
Thanks, Gemma. Gives us a good indication as to the kind of pace that we could see from Santalok Junior Audi. It's not a technical problem, it's just an adjustment. So hopefully that's going to make life a little bit easier for them when we get going. Of course, having said that, they are one of the two cars that hasn't really set a, well, not a competitive time. They haven't set a time at all. So they could end up, depending on what happens in terms of the restart of the session, they might end up staying down there in 54th.
Well, they need to get back out on track when this track goes green. We're still under red flag conditions. And part of what Thomas Drouet was saying, well, look at the fans, of course. So
got to feel sorry for them.
What you will worry about is when you go out, if there's a large group of cars going out all at one time, will be A, the visibility from the spray coming from the car you're following, but it will then inhibit you from being able to see the bits of the racetrack where water is running across it diagonally, or there is standing water, and that will be, you know, it's just we saw a number of cars getting caught out by that on different parts of the pit straight. Look at the rain falling now.
It's still falling, and down in the pits, Rima Jafali is with Gemma Scott.
Rima, obviously this morning the big story is the rain and how tricky things are. Some people saying it's going to dry up. Have you got any insight into that from your weather reports?
I think in the Nürburgring you never know, so we just look up and hope for decent conditions. I think right now it's really just about getting a safe lap in for us and making sure we have a good car, and yeah, hopeful. I don't mind the wet, so let's see.
This could really mix things up for the grid though, couldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, thankfully I've had some experience in the UK with wet running, so I'm quite used to it, and hopefully, yeah, we have a good race and makes it a bit more exciting.
Thank you very much. Have a good one.
She does indeed have good advantage with experience of running in British GT racing, Rima Jafali. But yeah, this is closer to Knockhill weather at the moment, isn't it?
I don't know what it's, I mean, it's what happens here when the cloud base sinks down onto. Actually, having said that, looking again to my right, the castle, which at one point was almost shrouded in the cloud, looks to be becoming a little clearer. So maybe we've seen the worst of this rain, and given, well, it's not going to dry up, certainly not be a dry line or anywhere approaching that before we conclude Q3. It'll be difficult for the drivers going out. There's still time available to them, 7 minutes and 23 seconds remaining of this Q1 session. So you're going to go out at some point, whether you're the front of the field or the mid or the back of the field. But actually, that picture is a better picture now than it would have been 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, it is, and you can see a little bit more of the Schloss than you were able to about 5-10 minutes ago. So that does give us a little bit of hope that the clouds are going to shift and we're going to get a clearer picture for the remainder of Q1 and then going into Q2 and Q3. But you're absolutely right, so much water has gone down and it's still raining at the moment. So even with that, you're not going to need any slick tyres at all until the start of the race this afternoon. And even then, certainly based on what we've got at the moment, that's a long way away.
I mean, Jake, slick tyres for this afternoon, wonderful. Bring it on.
Yeah, bring it on.
But, I mean, we don't know now. I mean, I looked at my weather app on my phone, and there was no indication, hint or whatever, of any rain here at this time of morning. And I don't know whether the weather app gets its information from, but clearly they got it wrong.
Hashtag Nürburgring Live. So everybody getting themselves ready to go. That is obviously Pietro Deliguanti getting himself ready to get into the Tracer Orange Audi. This is going to be such a difficult qualifying session to predict. Yes, we've got Raffaele Marcello up in the top spot, and other than Philipp Eng, everybody is over 2 seconds behind him, but you just don't know who's going to have the confidence in Q2, who's going to have the confidence in Q3 to get the most out of the car. We could find that while Raffaele Marcello is particularly quick, what if Timo Boguslavski can't find that same confidence in the car? What if Jules Gounod has traffic? It could mean an absolute lottery.
It's full of ifs, ands, on, buts. If the rain were to cease... Oh.
Right. Now, this is interesting. It looks as though these particular cars have decided to go to the end of the pit lane, into the fast lane, to get themselves track position for Q1 without being told they can. So...
Has that slapped legs in bed without any tea, then?
Quite potentially, yeah. These cars have essentially decided that they're going to... Yeah, well, we'll have to see how that develops. But down in the pits, we will hear from Mattia Drudi, who is getting himself ready for his run in the car with Gemma.
Mattia, I feel like we're back in Spa already. Just a few weeks back, the qualifying there was tricky. Yesterday, in fact, in Spa, just over an hour from here, just under an hour from here, it was horrific rain, and now we seem to be suffering at those mercies of the weather gods. How dangerous do you think it is out there at the moment on track with that surface water?
I mean, I've not been in the car yet, but looking at the TV here in the box from the box, I think it's too wet now to drive, especially we have 52 cars. Visibility look quite low, so I think at the moment it's the best solution to wait and see how the situation develops.
Absolutely. Well, let's focus on the Audis, of course, this weekend. Yesterday things were looking very mixed in our pre-qualifying sessions.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't look too easy for us, but I think we have a good package. There are many strong Audis. We have three, four really strong cars. I think we can try to fight for the race today. Looking at the weather, it's not going to be easy. I mean, in endurance, it's always full of pro lineups and really strong lineups and teams. So we'll try to work from that. I think we have a strong package, as I said, so we'll try to be on top again.
I certainly think you showed that strong package back in Spa. You were very much in contention for much of the race.
Yeah, I think in Spa we've been there the whole race on the top spot. I felt we missed the last performance in the last 3-4 hours when the temperature rise a bit. During the night and the morning when it was a bit cooler, we were really strong on it. But then we missed the pace. I think at the end we didn't do mistakes, so the strategy was good. So I think it was the maximum we could do at the time. Still a good result. I mean, we took many points. It's a shame for Poricar because when we were leading the race, we had the issue with the brakes and we had to retire. But I mean, we have still 2 races in endurance. We are not far from to be on the podium spot in the championship, so we'll try to fight.
Thank you very much. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Right, so let's go through the list of the 13 cars that are being escorted back to their original positions. There is the list on your screen. So it's the number 2 Get Speed that you've got on your screen in front of you, the 911 Pure Racing Porsche, the number 9, which is the Boutsen VDS Audi. We've got the 52, which is the AF Corsa Ferrari of the Machiels team, the 54 Dynamic Porsche GT. We've got the 96, that is the Rutschrenig Porsche. That's one of the biggest teams involved in that. The Iron Lynx Lamborghini 19, that was so quick yesterday in the hands of Leo Porcini, that's in the war. 83, the Iron Dames, that's unfortunate for them. The 24, that's the car collection Porsche that's dominated Pro-Am so far this season. The 55 and 56, so that's the Dynamic GT Porsches in bronze and silver. The 63, that's the Iron Lynx of Jordan Pepper, Andrea Caldarelli, and Mirko Bortolotti. That's another big car involved in that. And the 91, the Herberth Porsche. So basically, this is a case of, did we tell you could go into the fast lane? I don't think we did.
I think it was a case of teams taking the opportunity without getting the instruction, because what they wanted to do was to get to the front of the queue to give their driver the best opportunity of seeing where he's going. So the rationale behind what they did, I think I can understand, but the fact is that they did contravene a regulation. They were not enabled, they hadn't been instructed, now is the time to make your way down the pit lane.
Well, one of the cars that's involved in that list is the Machiels Ferrari. Jeff Machiels is down in the pits with Gemma Scott.
Jeff, sorry, there's a lot of noise down here in the pit lane as the cars are starting to head back out, but we just saw the 52 car, of course, with your father behind the wheel, spin off during that session. A mere case of aquaplaning?
There was a lot of water on the track. I think it's for all of us the same, but we will try to get the best out of it. It's 7 minutes left. After my father, I will go, and I will try to give the best out of the car. It's a new car, new track also for me, but we are going to try to get the best out of it.
Thank you very much, Jeff.
So the fast lane has opened, the session has restarted. Here is what happened to the Machiels Ferrari. Louis Machiels exiting stage right.
I mean, in effect, it was a harmless spin, but it was just an illustration of just the degree of water that has fallen onto the racetrack. And again, you see his cars now are making their way back out onto track. The visibility is, in real term, no different to when this session was red flagged. Whether the standing water that situation has improved, but also you get there's different where where tarmac has been resurfacing. There looks to be two different sort of qualities of tarmac, and that's where you're seeing the very, very shiny bits, and then the bits that look like they're the more recent bits as we go down to the bottom of the circuit. And Raffaele Marcello continues on his way. And again, how did he manage to get himself into a position where he was pretty much the first car getting a clear run?
I was just about to pick this up because it looks like we've got two waves of cars. The Acadis ASP Mercedes have hit the front of the queue, but then there was a whole mass of cars that went out. But there are some that have held back and gone, do you know what? No, we're not going with the grain of the traffic because we're just going to get into a ball of water. Wait another 30 seconds, then we'll have another chance to get some clear air.
But how long are you going to wait? Because we've only got 5.5 minutes of the session remaining. So if you're waiting for everybody to fill, by the time you go out, you're going to be catching up to this line of, so whatever you do, it's like stick the tail on the donkey. I mean, if you stick it in the head, are you better off than if you stick it at the rear? I don't know. It's just you just take your chances, go out. Hopefully you get a clear enough lap. But undoubtedly, visibility in terms of the cloud base has improved. With the amount of rain on the racetrack, it's still very difficult. Here we are up at the top of the circuit, coming through the final turn. Look at the spray. That's on the water on the track and the consequent spray. So Raffaele Marcello goes on to start another flying lap with exactly 5 minutes of this 15-minute session remaining.
But more importantly, he can at least see a little better where he's going. There's not quite so much mist as there was before, even if there's as much standing water, if not more, because the rain hasn't actually stopped while the red flag was going. It's just got slightly clearer the sky.
Yeah, the rain has eased clearly. You can see it in the windscreen. That is a lot easier than it would have been maybe 10 minutes ago. And hopefully with 50, well, we've got 52 cars. Well, we're going to have 53 because Christopher Mies, we're assuming, is going to go out in that 25 Santarlock Audi team.
But more problems for the number 8 AGS car, I've noticed as well. They had an engine change yesterday, of course. They on Friday, sorry. They went out for the pre-qualifying session and the free practice session yesterday morning. But it doesn't look like they've got a car underneath them that can sustain qualifying. So it looks like the number 8 AGS car is going to have to start from the back of the grid regardless. The big question is, can the Santadoc Audi get out there? Look at the pace difference in Sector 1 from Marcello.
Yes, he's gone purple, Sector 1 by almost 2 seconds. So we've got 3 minutes and 45-ish now, 45 seconds of this. So he can complete this lap. He'll get one more flying lap. And that will be about it before the checkered flag comes out. And that, he is the first car to go onto a flying lap. So all those that have been further down the field hanging back, they may struggle to get more than one flying lap in.
So the times currently on the board essentially mean nothing, absolutely nothing at all, because with Marcello able to go that much quicker on his first out lap on the restart, everybody should be able to make a gain.
And here was a problem area in the track in the first part of this. Looks a lot better there. There's a lot less standing water. So it is draining very well as you come up now. So purple by full, it was 4.4, now it's 2.2. So Raffaele is taking lumps out of their time. It's 2 minutes 17. I suspect he's going to be down around about a 2:14 by the time he completes this lap, assuming that he's still got good punch and drive off that final corner. So 2:17.3, his time to beat. And he goes 2:11.9, 6.1 seconds faster than Felipe Eng in the 98 BMW.
He's done what every racing driver would give their eye teeth to do. He's beaten his best by 6 seconds.
But literally those behind Marcello, they're changing by the car. And now is your Klingsman in the 31 BMW, gone second. 87 is Lorenzo Ferrari, and off
there goes
Valentino.
Rossi. Valentino Rossi's gone off. Well, it was inevitable somebody was going to. It's just ironic that it's Valentino Rossi that's ended up off into the gravel at turn 1. He's got to rejoin. Don't clip the Ferrari. Well done. That was well recovered.
And he's only got just over 2 minutes remaining to try and get a time in.
He's not going to get one.
Well, it's going to be marginal because he's going to come up. He'll probably just about... Oh, there we go. Down in turn 1 yet again.
That's the 58 Lamborghini of Tuarasa. So Tuarasa's going on. He definitely won't get another lap in. So Tuarasa going off there. And that's the 58 Lamborghini. I'm shooting it. There goes the WRT. No, that's the Rove BMW.
That's the Rove, yes.
That's Max Hesse.
Yeah.
And he manages to bring it back onto the circuit, but turn 1 is absolutely a trouble spot.
Well, actually, it's the entire pit straight into turn 1, turn 2, 3 are probably the areas of the racetrack which currently are the worst in terms of standing water. Further around the racetrack, certainly on the leg from turn 11 all the way back up to the chicane, that's looking not too bad, but it's still Marcello who's gained a significant advantage. He's got a second advantage over now. Enrique Chavez has gone second quickest in the 188 McLaren on a 2:13.0, 1.056 of a second behind this car, the blue Mercedes. Look at that, following behind. I mean, visibility is still bad, but a lot better than it was, what, 10 minutes ago?
Bortolotti's now come up to second position. Not bad from the Lamborghini that was facing the wrong way earlier in the session. And of course, they're still under investigation as one of the teams that went into the fast lane too early. So we need to keep an eye on that. Here's Enrique Chavez, 0.2 of a second off the pace of Marcello. So this could put the McLaren back into P2 if he can keep this going through the lap. But he's got traffic.
He's in traffic and he's got a load of spray. So he makes the move up the inside, gets past in relatively easy terms. But his lap time, I suspect,
it's compromised.
But you never know. It depends just how much he can make up in this final sector of the circuit. But he's backed off now to give himself a little bit of space to have one more go. But we've got 15, 14.
You've got to hurry up.
He's going to get across. He will make it across start-finish line before the checkered flag is out. But he's going to make it by about maybe 2 or 3 seconds at maximum.
Unfortunately, so too across the line to start another lap is Valentino Rossi. He does get another one in. There's the checkered flag. It will come through, and the first car to see it is the Rove BMW that doesn't get a chance to get another lap in. So it's still Marcello from Bortolotti. Mauro Engel has gone up to third.
Christopher Haas is now fastest overall in Sector 1 in the number 8 Audi. There's the 11 come to you Audi. So Christopher Haas is currently looking to see where he is.
He's faster than Marcello, but they're currently down in...
He's down 53rd.
He is in 53rd place at the moment. Oh no, sorry, he's back up to 8th. He's back up to 8th. He's done a 2:13.6. So he's now the one to watch. Look at this, side by side through the Vidal. Racing back to the line to finish the lap. That's Christopher Mies, isn't it? Desperately trying to work his way through on the inside of the Optima McLaren, and they traded paint there. So Mies is going to come across the line. They're currently in dead last. What are they going to do as they come across the line this time, though? Where is Christopher Mies going to end up? Let's find out over the line. Well, Haase has gone second.
Yeah, that's a good run by Christopher Haase. Christopher Mies,
11th.
So he, again, having 3 cars trying to get into the space.
Bortolotti
has beaten the time set by Raffaele Marcello by 0.8 of a second. I mean, stunning run from Marcello Bortolotti in the Lamborghini. Marcello is coming back, so it's going to be a battle between the Mercedes and the Lamborghini as to who will be overall quickest in Q1.
Wide in, fast out. This is going to be a good opportunity for Marcello to take it back. Can he go faster than 2:11.1 over the line? The answer is yes, 2:10.8. So it was a brief moment off the top spot, but Raffaele Marcello steals back the pole position in the final flying lap of Q1. Brilliant.
Yes, now whereabouts is the 63 Lamborghini? Has it already taken the checkered flag?
Yes, it has.
So therefore there's no response from Bortolotti. There he is.
But Sandy Mitchell's gone up to 3rd in the other Lamborghini, the K-Pax car. So Lamborghini have come out of this looking very strong. 4th position for Haase now.
And
Haase.
Well, the cloud is descending yet again.
Yes, it is.
Just looking here, it's coming down to the bottom of the circuit, and
I can barely see the slots to the right now.
That's right, the castle is virtually invisible. While the rain has eased, the cloud base has again fallen over the racetrack. So Timo Boguslawski is going to get himself ready to take over from Raffaele Marcello. A lot of responsibility in his hands, and very tough conditions for everybody.
No pressure, Timo, but your teammate just went 2:10.8. 0.2 of a second, a quarter of a second quicker than Mirko Bortolotti. Sandy Mitchell doing a great job there in 3rd, from Christopher Haase in 4th place in the Audi. Then Enrique Chavez in the McLaren doing a great job in 5th. Then Philipp Eng, the Rowe BMW, in 6th position ahead of Thomas Preining in the Ridgeonick Porsche. Maro Engel in the Treble 7 is 8th. Arjun Mayani in the Haupt Mercedes is in 9th position, and in 10th place is the 31 WRT BMW of Jens Klingmann. Alessio Rovera in his Ferrari is 11th. The other Ferrari is down in 26th. So it's clear that wet or dry, Ferrari are not having a good time of it. Christopher Mies, he only got 1 flying lap in really in the end, and he got a 2:13.6, so about 2.5 seconds off the pace of Raffaele Marcello. So there you go, there is the results of Q1. Marcello getting a time of 2:10.8 in the wet conditions from Bortolotti and Mitchell in their Lamborghinis. Then Christopher Haase in the ComTU Racing Audi, Enrique Chavez in the Garage 59 McLaren, Philipp Eng, Maro Engel, Thomas Preining, Arjun Mayani and Jens Klingmann in the WRT BMW. The Ferraris are there or thereabouts. But obviously, looking through, you've got the Winwood Mercedes topping their class. Miklas Born going 16th fastest. The GRT Grasser Lamborghini of Clemens Schmidt doing a fair job down in 25th position, but a lot of teams out of position. You've got to go to the second time page to find the leading Pro-Am, and that is the Treble 8 of the CSA Racing team that were in so much difficulty yesterday. But Arthur Rougier and Evan Creed have bounced back to get themselves into 31st position provisionally, and they are the leading Pro-Am team at this point in proceedings. 54 cars did get out there and set laps. The gap from 1st to 2nd, 17.5 seconds. That shows you how wet it is. So a very tricky session out there indeed for Q1 here at the Nürburgring. Q1 starting in very wet conditions indeed. Everybody determined to get out there and set a fast lap. Raffaele Marcello finding it very tricky on the opening lap as everybody tried to dial the car in. All about confidence and all about patience. Several drivers dropping it. The one that brought out the red flag was Louis Machiels in the Ferrari. So the session was stopped, and when we got going again, everybody was desperately trying to find as much clear track as possible. Lamborghinis did a fantastic job. Mirko Bortolotti 2nd and Sandy Mitchell 3rd. Enrique Chavez, one of the stars of the session in P5 in the Garage 59 McLaren. Not a bad run from Christopher Haase either. Mirko Bortolotti snatched pole position initially, but then Raffaele Marcello bounced back in style to grab it in the final lap of the session. So whether it'll go that way for Q2 or not still remains to be seen, because now it's time for Timo Boguslawski and Andrea Caldarelli to pick up those cars and do a similar job.
Just looking at that image, I would think that the rain appears to have stopped, or if it is, it's falling a lot less heavily than we did. And there is the view of the castle, or in German, the Schloss, and the cloud base which has descended, now looks like it might be beginning to lift once again.
Yeah, getting ready for qualifying 2 of the Fanatec GT World Challenge, powered by AWS Endurance at the Nürburgring. And look at that. That looks like the opening sequence to Monty Python and the Holy Grail, doesn't it? That is absolutely invisible, the castle. So very tricky there, as now we get ourselves ready for Q2.
Now, interestingly, the 88 Mercedes, which is at the very bottom of the pit lane, and that's part of the reason why Raffaele Marcello was able to get out ahead of the rest of the field. We've got the 93 Sky Tempesta. McLaren now making its way out, and it's going to be Jonathan Wee behind the wheel. And so Timo Boguslavski is in no rush because the 88 Mercedes is still up on the air jacks. Now, I don't know why they would have, they've got a number of sets of wet weather tyres, why they would have chosen to take a set off or have a look, maybe checking the brakes, I don't know.
A fabulous run in Q1 from Raffaele Marcello, and Gemma Scott has found him. I'll be fascinated to hear what he's got to say.
Lolo, that was quite impressive. As you just restarted the session, quickly, went quicker, right at the end, still going faster. Are the conditions improving?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if the rain stopped or not, because it's difficult with the spray, but for sure it's getting better and better. I mean, there are many cars on track, so the standing water is going away, and yeah, it will be quicker and quicker.
Thank you very much.
Sort of, I think maybe similar comments from the commentary booth. Don't want to egg the old or over-egg the pudding, do we?
John Watson does know what he's talking about, folks.
Well, you can see down at the bottom of the circuit, clearly, the circuit is draining very successfully. Now, coming up here into the Schumacher-Esses was one of the trouble. You can see this, look, there's a lot more water at the crucial point of entry into the chicane. And, okay, we get through, and on we go. So this is the beginning of the Q2, the 159 McLaren, and that has got Benjamin Goethe behind the wheel for Q2, so he will have the benefit of having clear visibility when he goes on to his first flying lap. He's coming through the kink on the straight. Again, there's standing water there. You can see the spray coming off the back of the car, but a lot more manageable now than it would have been maybe 5 or more minutes ago.
And Kjærgaard did a fair job in Q1. The car was 12th quickest on a 2:12.8, 2 seconds away from Marcello, but when you put different drivers in the cars, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be the fastest car in Q2. So if he's got a decent platform there, 12th in Q1 is not a bad place for Benjamin Goethe to build on to get himself into the top 6.
But what you have to remember is that all these drivers are stepping into these cars literally having not been in them since we finished up in the pre-qualifying session on Saturday afternoon, when the conditions were completely different. Now, look, you can see coming out of the pit lane, cars coming off. You can see I have to stay to the right of that demarcation line. But how many cars are using that transition lane out of the pit lane as part of the racetrack? They're fully allowed to do that, but of course with visibility being maybe marginal at best, a car could be coming out of the pit lane at the same time as you wanted to use that pit lane demarcation area as a cleaner part, maybe less standing water, as Miguel Ramos goes out, and that car presently is 5th overall, and we wait to see what Ramos is going to do. So it'll be the combined times we're looking at as much as it will be the individual time from Q2.
Yeah, a reminder to everybody watching that the graphic on your screen, that is going to show you the combined times from Q1, Q2 and Q3. So that will change, and it will not necessarily be well, it'll be the overall picture, but the Q2 times are obviously going to change dramatically what the order is. But Boguslavski's time could actually drop him on average down the run rather than keep him in first position. So you've got to bear in mind that it's the average time from Q1, Q2, Q3. Look at the lack of visibility that the camera can see through the VDOL.
Yeah, I mean, it is really, really difficult conditions to see. The cloud base again, as the castle is no longer in vision.
It's only at the top though. It's only at that point on the circuit where the visibility is really bad. Everywhere else, as you said, John, is actually not too bad in vision.
Absolutely, but the pit straight's at one of the highest parts of this 5.1 kilometer racetrack, and so you can see the standing water, which was a problem, is reducing, but drivers are still opting to go way to the right coming down into turn 1. And there is 63 Andrea Caldarelli. That was a very competitive car. Mirko Bortolotti, it ends up being second quickest. So Caldarelli, who understands Lamborghinis as well as any man on this world does, he is capable of dragging that car, or sort of, if not to the quick. Well, right now, the quickest car is the 159, and it's still 50. It's changing by the car coming across the lap.
So interestingly, there was an incident from Q1 that was noted, which was car 91 and car 998. That's Max Hesse and Ralph Bond from Q1. That turn 14 incident is noted. There was also an unsafe release in Q1 that's been noted as well, and that was from the 57, so that's the Winward Racing Mercedes, and the 12, that's the ComTU Audi, the Art of Canada car. Now, Heinemann has just gone purple in Sector 1. That, of course, is based on Q2, but it's also going to change the average quite significantly. Andrea Caldarelli out on the circuit. Now, he is tumbling down the order based on the fact that the other cars out there have set the average times. So currently in pole position is now the 96 Ritternick Porsche of Heinrich, who has done a 2:13.5.
I mean, literally, we can't follow timing and scoring, because as soon as we say 96 is the quickest car, the combined time over these two sessions, then it's overtaken by somebody else. So the times are just literally as the cars coming across the line, and you're pointing at the Heinrich.
That's the Herbert
Heinemann Porsche.
Yeah, it's the Herbert Porsche, the 91. That's one of the 13 cars that's currently under investigation and has gone fastest in session so far. That's only fastest in session. That hasn't put them pole position. So there is the number 6 K-Pax Lamborghini. It's Mapelli who is behind the wheel now. So Mapelli is obviously trying to get that car up the ranks. Purple in Sector 2, that'll help. It's not for long though.
No, it's not, and that's the problem. Again, everything is changing literally so quickly. It's almost as if it's by the corner.
Right, the ComTU Audi has just come up to the top now. That is the number 11, driven by the youngster Kobe Powells of Belgium. So he has now put his car on a 2:13.6. That makes the average a 2:12.9. But up to the top, it is now the Lamborghini. Mapelli has come through in second in session. That puts them first overall at the moment.
Well, actually, it's showing that the 88 is still first. Because
oh, no, he's taking it back.
Yes, absolutely. This is what I'm saying. You can't. You take your eyes off timing and scoring to look at the actual action on screen, and it's changed. Robert Schwartzman, haven't seen a lot of Robert Schwartzman. Benjamin Heat has in the 19. I mean, goodness me, it's can't keep up.
Right, Schwartzman, if he goes fastest in Q2, that's going to elevate the Ferrari probably into the top 10 for the time being. So Schwartzman is definitely going to be a dark horse for the top 10 of Q2 here. As he comes through, Beretta's just gone purple in Sector 1 in the Iron Lynx Lamborghini. So let's see how far up the order the Ferrari moves. From 13th, where are they going to be as they come through? It's going to be a quick end to the lap for Schwartzman as he crosses the line. Still waiting for that lap to come through. For some reason he hasn't, it hasn't shown that he's finished the lap, but he did finish the lap. Oh, he came up to 4th. He came up to 4th position in the Ferrari. I didn't think that was going to go P10, or at least top 10. And it's 4th for Ferrari at the moment. Rivera on a 2:12.7, Schwartzman on a 2:12.0, just fractionally slower than Boguslavski, but Heinrich did a 2:11.1. That's a very quick lap. That's actually quicker than anybody other than Raffaele Marcello managed.
But just looking at track conditions, marginally better, literally almost by the corner, not by the lap. So Boguslavski finding himself catching traffic up at a part of the racetrack he can't do an awful lot about, because turn 10, turn 11, the blend from one to the other is so a natural blend that Boguslavski was unable to find a way through. Ideally, I mean, he's on a lap. I think he has, I think, backed out of it. He might as well let these two cars continue on their way. So now, can he slip up the inside? Well, no, yes, he's made the move, but he's got the Lamborghini, the K-Pax Lamborghini, just to his left.
So here comes Timo Boguslavski over the line. We're going to see what this lap will do to his average, because the 63 Lamborghini up the road has just taken back provisional pole on average, with Caldarelli banging in at 2:11.2. What has Boguslavski done as he comes across the line? We will find out as he hits the timing beacon. I don't think he's improved on this one.
He's gone through already.
Yeah.
So I mean, he was held up with that traffic coming up through the chicane. So we've got that's the 54 Porsche, which is currently 4th overall.
Yeah, it's the fastest in the session.
Yes. Yeah.
So in Q2,
Ben Muller behind the wheel, 2:10.356. A very appropriate 356, bearing in mind that's the factory, that's the foundation of Porsche, the 356.
it certainly is. And now that lap set by Sven Muller is quicker than what Raffaele Marcello did in Q1. So that shows you how much faster the circuit is getting over the course of Q2. On average, the Lamborghini is now looking at pole position. Andrea Caldarelli did a 2:11.2 after Bortolotti did a 2:11.1 in Q1. So on average, taking the 2 sessions into consideration, it is the number 63 GRT Grasser Lamborghini that you're looking at on screen that is in provisional pole position for the 3 hours this afternoon. That is a brilliant return to form for Lamborghini.
Yes, and you can see just again visually the circuit has improved further, so that's enabling Caldarelli to push that little bit harder. But he's having to, you arrive at a corner and you realize I could have carried a little bit more speed. So the next time you come up, you carry that extra speed and you say, I could have still carried further speed than, so it's very difficult, but much better track conditions than we had, certainly for Q1 and at the start of Q2.
Oh wow, there are some big movers in the field now. Robert Schwartzman has brought the Ferrari up to an average of 3rd on the grid, which is fantastic. The Iron Dames, Sarah Bovey, has just done a 2:10.4. So that puts the Iron Dames all the way up into 5th position on the grid provisionally. Very good work.
And that is only a 1/10 of a second slower than Sven Muller's time. I mean, that is a stunning lap. I mean, I don't know what Lamborghinis have found for a wet weather, whether they've got a wet weather setup or whether just the car and the conditions are coming together and giving everybody in a Lamborghini, but it's certainly a great run by Sarah Bovey to go 2nd overall in terms of this session to Sven Muller in the Porsche.
So the K-Pax Lamborghini has come back into 3rd on the grid in Q2 for courtesy of Mapelli. Sven Muller's time still only puts them 7th on the grid for the time being. Coming towards us, that's the Come To You Audi. And we've got the 777 Almanar Mercedes. They've got absolutely zero pace. They are tanking. Mauro Engel did a 2:12.6. Lucas Stoltz has done a 2:30.5. They're actually slower in Q2 than they were in Q1.
Well, we don't know if there are specific reasons, but Lucas Stoltz is the kind of driver who is not going to go out and hang it out on the first flying lap. So let's judge him by his time at the conclusion. But Matteo Drudi, again, a real star in the Audis this year. So purple in sector 1. So the 40 Audi is currently in 14th combined. But if Matteo Drudi can drag, it's already done a, where is he?
So the average is
done
a
a
2:12.9
at the previous lap. So he's going to improve upon that by certainly over half a second if he follows the improvements in sectors 1 and sector 2. So 15th overall for number 40 is going to translate into 6th overall for number 40.
But the lap was a 2:09.8. That's the fastest we've seen all day. So Matteo Drudi bangs in a 2:09.8. That's the fastest time we've seen so far this morning. But based on the average carried over from Q1, it's only enough to put them in 6th position. Here's Sarah Bovey. Sarah Bovey's done a 2:16.1 there, so not a competitive lap compared to what we've seen from her before. But the Iron Dames are right up there. Ray Alfred did a 2:13.4 in Q1. Sarah Bovey's done a 2:10.4, so they're up in P7 or P8 now.
And this is probably going to be the last lap for the Iron Dames. It was very close coming across start-finish line, whether they get just one lap or maybe, wow, look at Sarah hanging it out through turn 2. No fear whatsoever that the pendulum effect would overtake the front of the car. So pushing again on the exit of turn 4.
Back to the top spot for the 88 Mercedes as Boguslavski bangs in a 2:10.7. That's quicker than Marcello managed. So now they have gone back to the top of the grid for the time being. 0.24 on average ahead of the Mercedes, as it looks to me as though Sarah Bovey is going, he's just taken the wide line to come through and find more acceleration.
And all your fears about the 777 Mercedes were for nothing, because it is up to 6th overall. Lucas Stoltz, who I had faith in, did the business, got the time in, and you know, that is the nature of Lucas Stoltz. He will just go out, feel what it's like, and then knock the time in, and he's got that car now, well, up to 7th position, 4th row of the grid. We've got one more qualifying session to go with just under a minute remaining in this one.
All the uneasy feelings at Santalok are gone now as well, because Patrick Niederhaus has just done a 2:09.7, and that puts them on an average of 2:11.6. That shows you how tricky it was for Christopher Mies in Q1. but they're now up into 8th position on average. So the Santalog Audi is back in the top 10 where it belongs. Mattia Drudi's lap was pretty spectacular, but on average they're in 9th position now. And Schwartzman has put the Ferrari back into 3rd position on a 2:10.0. Robert Schwartzman really is the secret weapon of Ferrari at the moment.
Listen, he is a star. He's going to be around for many, many, many years, and he's just showing us why he is a star. But Timo Bergoslawski still improving in Sector 1, got a green session, so he's just about to come across the start-finish line. And
that's the Iron Dames coming through, isn't it?
So, and she's going to Bergoslawski now, so he's coming up to the end of Sector 2. He wants to consolidate that time. He's got traffic ahead of him, which might compromise him, and it will do coming into the chicane. It's a question of whether they will drop into the pits or he can find a way around them without losing. He wants to try, oh dear me, side by side, but he can slip up the inside of the K-Pax Lamborghini and try and get a drive on him. Can't quite match the Lambo in terms of traction, but it's going to be still a reasonably good run and will consolidate the provisional quickest overall for the 88 Mercedes.
Oh,
still
beautiful.
Personal best in that that final sector.
Yep.
We lost out in the middle sector catching those two cars, but clawed a little bit of it back. And good job by Timo Bergoslawski to keep that car, the 88 Mercedes, at an average of 2:10.474.
Yeah, a 2:10.1 from Timo Bergoslawski at the end there. That gives them provisional pole position by 0.4 of a second to the GRT Grasser Lamborghini. We saw Sarah Bobby, she actually got to start another flying lap, 8th in session up to that point, and the Iron Dames are currently 13th in average. There could be a few more movers and shakers. Niederhauser goes purple in the 3rd sector to bring the Audi team up into 6th position on average. Brilliant work.
Yes, and because they've just managed to get across line before the checkered flag came out, they are the cars on track that have got the best opportunity to make substantial gains, because track conditions from where we started Q2 to where we are now 15 minutes further down the road are substantially better. So visibility is a lot better. You can see the racetrack. The racing line is clearly there. You can see the racing line up through the Schumacher S's, clearly defined. And I mean, that makes such a big difference to both what you can see, but to a driver's confidence. So the 33rd place, we're looking at, that's the 63 there, the Lamborghini.
Well, Niederhauser just went quickest in Q2 on a 2:09.3. Mattia Drudi was the 2nd fastest driver in Q2. Sven Muller 3rd, Robert Schwartzman 4th, Tim Heinemann 5th, and Timo Bergoslawski in 6th. What that does to the average, though, is it keeps the 88 Mercedes on provisional pole ahead of Andrea Caldarelli in the 63 GRT Grasser Lamborghini, and now the Ferrari of Robert Schwartzman and Alessia Rivera sharing with Nicholas Nielsen, who will get in the car in Q3. They go 3rd. Not a bad run there from Jonathan Hui, who puts the Sky Tempesta McLaren into an average of 33rd place, and good recovery as well from the 777 Almanar Mercedes. That's the 57 going through your picture. That is under investigation, I note, but Indy Dontje putting that car into 26th. So when you combine Q1 with Q2, this is how the grid provisionally looks. The Acadis ASP Mercedes is still there on the top, but now the Iron Lynx Lamborghini is there in 2nd position on the grid. Then it is the AF Corsa Ferrari and the Mercedes Almanar in 4th position. A good run there from Lucas Stoltz to bring that car back up to the top. The Rutronic Porsche now looking at 5th, the Santalog Junior Audi in 6th, and then all the way down to 13th for the leading bronze. That's the Dynamic GT of Barker, Nacken and Saga. Winwood Racing is still looking good in their class, and the GRT Grasser of Schmidt, Heiters and Van Berlo still the leading car in silver. Looking down towards the Pro-Am on the 2nd page of the timing. 36th position overall. There is a change in the leader. It is now the Barwell Lamborghini that finds its way into the pole position of Pro-Am. 36th overall, but Rob Collard has definitely given them a real kick in the arm. Excellent stuff. Rougier and Creed slipping to 3rd in Pro-Am rather than the pole position they were looking at in Q1. It's all changed, but not at the front in the Pro category. It's still the 88 Mercedes looking at provisional pole. Can Jules Gounon finish the job on a drying track?
He's got every opportunity because that car has been consistently quick across the first 2 qualifying sessions, and I suspect Gounon will continue the good work in Q3.
Q2, the rain was still constant at the start, but at least the visibility was better, and it gave drivers the chance to really find their feet and gain confidence. Better understanding of grip, better understanding of tyre life. It was a good opportunity for the drivers to really start to get their elbows out in these apexes and find some speed. Good performance from Sarah Bovy in the Iron Dames Lamborghini. They have shot up towards the top 20 now, with Sarah Bovy getting herself towards the top 10 in the session. A good run from Mattia Drudi for a long time, the fastest in the session. Not a bad run from the 63 of Andrea Caldarelli. He brought the Lamborghini to second position with combined times. Patrick Niederhauser, though, was the fastest driver in Q2, bringing the Audi up into sixth position. But the 88 Mercedes is still in provisional pole. So there you can see the headland still pretty misty as we prepare ourselves ready for qualifying 3. And it's definitely going to be very intriguing now, because we know that the rain is pretty much ceasing at various points on the circuit. There might still be a little bit in the air, but we've got 15 minutes to run. Q3 will start at 9:44 local time, which is in approximately 3 minutes' time. But qualifying 3 for the Fanatec GT World Challenge, powered by AWS, the 4th race of the Endurance Cup here at the Nürburgring. Can the 88 hang on for pole position?
Well, one thing's clear, and that is that the Q3 drivers are going to have the best of track conditions over the 3 qualifying sessions. So the track, the line clearly defined. Off track or off the line, there's still areas where you don't want to go. If you get there, it's not as bad as it was for Q1. For Q1, it was really, really tough. So now it's going to be see who can do. And I mean, I don't expect to see a huge amount of change taking place, let's say, in the top 6, but through the field. I mean, just been looking down through the field to see, for example, where is the 46, the Valentino Rossi, I see it out as 27th position. But will that car see any further improvement? I mean, it's a tough. The best BMW is still the 98. That's Philippe Eng and Marcus Wittmann, and now we've got Nick Yellerley, who is a specialist in tracks going from damp to dry.
But they are only 10th position on the grid for the race this afternoon. So yet again, even though we're not in the dry conditions that they struggled in yesterday anymore, the BMW still doesn't quite have the same sort of pace that they had. Well, the fastest man in Q2 was Patrick Niederhauser in the Santalog Audi. So down in the pits, Gemma Scott will grab a word with him.
Patrick, fastest in that session. Obviously, the setup change that you made in the first Q1 session there has made a difference.
Yeah, the car has been awesome. Obviously, if you can go P1 in a wet session, I think the team did everything right for sure. Car felt awesome. It made a lot of fun to drive out there, and yeah, we did all the right changes for the moment. So let's see when it's drying up now.
Thank you very much.
So if they've got the best car for the wet conditions, Patrick Niederhauser is about to hand over to Simon Gachet. What can he do?
The car I'm going to keep an eye on is, ironically, the 777 Mercedes. We've just seen Lucas Stolz do a good job, drag that car up to 4th overall over the 2 qualifying sessions so far. And then you've got Fabian Schiller taking over that car for Q3. And Fabian Schiller was the driver who was actually quickest overall in dry conditions yesterday in pre-qualifying. So he's got pace, and it'll be interesting to see whether he has got sufficient pace to threaten and challenge the car that's currently the quickest overall, is the 88. I could say ASP Mercedes. And well, what I mean is the changes around the circuit. Now the castle is fully visible. The cloud base has just blown away.
And I am actually starting to see a drying line develop on the main straight itself as well. We head out onto the circuit, ready for Q3. Expect to see some times dipping into the 205s through the course of Q03.
I think that was Max Goetz who went out first of all, so he's going to get the benefit in the Mercedes of knowing precisely where the track is, but he's got to learn it because he hasn't been in the car until now.
Yeah, the rain has stopped. The sky is clearing. Now, we saw how quickly it went from a 2-minute 10 lap to a 1:55 lap. It took about 25 minutes. So we're not going to get to a 1:55. What we are going to get to, though, is a potential 2:03, 2:04 lap in Q3. It's going to be very quick the way this circuit drains.
Well, the paid test session number 1 on Friday in wet conditions, which probably I didn't get here in time to see it, but probably not massively different to where we are now. That was the 998 BMW, did a 2:06. So maybe 2:01's an optimistic time. It depends literally on where you are on the track, how quick the track is drying. The thing that will preclude the track getting a pure dry line and in which case you'd have to go on to slicks anyway, and there's not going to be enough time to do that, is going to be the ambient temperature, which is currently only 12.6 Celsius. You need a higher ambient temperature to aid the track drying process, so we're going to get a drying line. I don't envisage at any point seeing anybody taking the risk of putting on a set of slicks, because I just don't feel that even though there may be what you think is a dry line, it's still going to have an underlying dampness within it.
So there's an unsafe release investigation for the number 71 Ferrari. That is Dan Serra from Q2, so that's going to be looked at. Otherwise, everything was pretty fine and dandy in Q2, actually. We had a few moments in Q1, but everybody kept it very clean in Q2, I have to say.
Indeed, and again, a contribution to that was the improvement in overall conditions. And I mean, again, between the start of Q2 and the start of Q3, a little bit of meandering. I wonder what's going on in the Iron Dames Lamborghini.
Michelle Gatting wants track position, doesn't she?
A little bit of meandering around there. Maybe making an adjustment on the mirrors and didn't realise there's another car alongside.
Potential, but now at least they're going to get to start their flying lap. And this is where we're going to see some really interesting leaps forward, because in a drying track, again, it all comes down to one thing and one thing alone, Watty: confidence.
Yes, very much so, and confidence is such a fundamental part of driving a race car. As we see the Porsche rotate.
That's the Mercedes, actually.
Oh, that's the Mercedes, you're right.
That's the Mad Panda car.
Mad Panda. Ezekiel is the owner of the team. So Ezekiel Perez up at turn 10. So why was that an assist? No, ran wide, caught the curb and the exit of the corner of the back. So went round, and there he hasn't managed to get it fired up yet. So that's not a great situation.
Guys, just keep right, for goodness sake. I don't want any damage to repair. Unfortunately, when you're the owner of the team, you've got no one else to blame, have you?
I mean, you'll be given a certain amount of time as the 38 Ferrari runs wide going through turn 2, gets back onto track. So here we have Jules Gounod going to make his way up to near to the area where we saw Mad Panda Mercedes rotate. So he's coming out of the Schumacher S's now up into turn 10. It was on the exit of turn 10 that Ezekiel Perez compact rotated, and the car is still there. It's still facing the traffic.
That's awkward.
Now, normally you get a 30-second or so window in which you're...
Red flag.
Well, there you go. That's the reason why, because he hasn't been able to get the car moving, and it's in a very dangerous position. So now, finally, the red flag's been thrown. Believe it or believe it not, he's got it going.
Oh, that's so unfortunate.
Everybody's got to go back into the pit lane at 50 kilometers per hour under red flag conditions. Quite rightly so, because the decision was the right decision at the point.
Yeah.
And then within about 5 seconds, the number 90 Mercedes is rolling.
I tell you what, Alanis Morissette will be having kittens. That's so ironic that essentially the number 90 was facing the wrong way. It wasn't moving in time, so they had to throw the red flag.
Absolutely.
There was no argument about that.
When you're coming up through turn 10 and you're pointing to go, oh my, there's a car facing me, and I've got to make an adjustment, so that was a compromise. So the irony about all is, had race director waited another 10 seconds, Ezekiel Perez compact would have had that car rolling, but you have to do it. You get a window of about 30 seconds to do a reset on the car to get it moving again, and it was the correct decision to red flag it in the context of the moment.
It's just as annoying as it is that the car did actually get the opportunity to function and move under its own steam, but this is going to be a short red flag as a result. What it is going to do, though, of course, is it's going to give the track a little bit more time to dry out.
Yes, and ironically, we haven't had a single recorded lap time from any one of the 54 cars, so we've now got 11 minutes remaining for 54 cars to go out and get the opportunity to let's say, maximum 4 flying laps plus an out lap. So it's going to be an out lap at whatever pace you do that at. And then 3 certainly, maybe depending where you are. If you're at the head of the field, you might get a 4th one. But it's going to be a close call. It's going to be, it's 2 minutes, just over 2 minutes. For 4 laps, that's 8 minutes plus an out lap. Wow. I think if you're at the very front of the field and you're on it straight away, you might get 4 flying laps plus your out lap. Otherwise, it's going to be an out lap and 3 flying laps at max if you're further down towards the tail of the chain of cars going back onto the track.
So Q3 now essentially becomes an 11-minute session rather than a 15-minute session because nobody got a lap time in. I do sympathise with the viewers on online who are referring to the number 90 Mercedes now as the bad panda for spinning around and causing a red flag, but absolutely the right decision under the circumstances. But they've made it back. They
got back. The car was fine. It was just, it had to be reset on the car's systems and then get the car fired up and get it rolling. But you know, and I know that all the stuff comes in from internet and whatever. I can't explain how tricky even these conditions are. Remember, every driver is stepping into this car stone cold, having left the racetrack under ideal conditions yesterday, and then they're having to go out and perform. And that is a mammoth task for any racing driver. Now, who's that rolling down pit straight?
That's definitely not what you should have done under red flag conditions.
Absolutely not.
Oh, that's the car collection Porsche. Right.
Well, I think that might be a slap wrist.
That's Ludwiller. So how has he not got the red flag is out?
Well, I think he missed the pit lane entrance. I don't want to be condemned for making a comment that a human being could make an error.
And the thing is now he's trundling down the pit lane and he will know, having seen the red flag down the main straight, oh no, I can't believe I've done that.
I mean, it's difficult because the red flag, you get a warning in the cockpit and there's warnings all around the racetrack and everybody else would be peeling off. So how would you miss that? Well, listen, I've no doubt he'll have an opportunity to explain the fact to the stewards if he is so required to go up and make a visit to the stewards room.
Well, unfortunately for Nicky Ludwiller, his heart will be plunging to his boots right about now because he knows what the circumstances for that is going to be. So we're getting ourselves ready for the restart of Q3, but Nicky Ludwiller. So let's have a look and see what we can make of the situation. See, look, everybody's coming into the pits, and for whatever reason, he's just missed it.
He didn't even attempt to enter. Now, there's a red flag there. You can see the marshal waving it. Whether it was, I need to see it again. I think maybe it wasn't being waved, or I didn't pick it up until the Porsche had gone past it. Look, it's a fact of life. You don't overlook something of that importance, a red flag.
Well, look, let's not chastise him until we know the context.
That's exactly what I've said. Wow, look at this mad charge. Here we go, here we go, here we go.
11 minutes to go, and everybody wants to be the follow the leader. Check that out. That's
M25 at rush hour.
That's a very busy pit exit, isn't it? There's not even a clear line.
87 Mercedes is the one, and that is Maximilian Götz. He was first out. But remember, Acutis ASP are the last team in the pit lane. BMW, that's the 32.
It is the 32, but that's like a cue for a new iPhone, isn't it? Get out of the way. I'm first in line. I'm going to be the first one to get it.
Incident between cars 55 and 98. Connection, it was 96 and the 998, so not 90, not 55.
Check this out.
Yeah.
WRT BMW adamant, I'm going to get out ahead of Jules Gounon, come hell or high water. I'm going to beat him out.
Yeah, well, this is Charles Verts behind the wheel, so you know, Charles Verts feels that it's my entitlement as much as anybody else's. And the importance of getting out first is ultimately going to mean the difference between getting 3 flying laps and getting 4 flying laps.
Wow, this is fascinating to watch the dynamic. Jules Gounon looking across. And look, Charles Verts' wheel is fractionally in front of the Mercedes.
Yes, it is.
So I would say he's got to let him go. Smart thinking from Charles Verts. Wow, that is fascinating to watch the traffic jam out of the pits. And there is the 46 BMW trying to get into that line. He's tried to, hasn't he? But
yeah, I think it's for Sheldon van der... no, it's Maxime Martin, beg your pardon.
It is.
Not Sheldon, but Maxime Martin, who is in the 46, and of course the WRT, BMWs, and the Acutis ASP Mercedes are at the pit lane exit, gives them the best opportunities.
I quite like this. They've let the fast lane be open, but they haven't started the session yet, have they? They've kept them on tenterhooks. This is fascinating. Right, come to you. We're going for a new set of boots.
Yeah, that's going to be Fred Verviche.
There we go.
There we go. So it's Mercedes, BMW, Mercedes, and then the first of the Audis follows out. And again, it's very, you've got, it's called, neighbours and traffic. Okay, look, you don't want to lose a slot because that might have an overall bearing on where you end up in timing and scoring. But at the same time, it works. What goes wrong comes wrong. It'll be the other way around on another occasion for you.
Well, the WRT BMW of Charles Weerts beats the milk queue in the school playground and manages to get almost to the complete front of the queue. A little bit of nerky around the bike sheds later, I'm sure. And look, they're even trying to gain track position as they come straight back out onto the circuit as the 25 Santalok Junior Audi loses a place in the queue. And I think the Mercedes, yeah, he's dropped right back from Charles Weerts' BMW, said, right, you can have that. I'll gain a little bit of track position anyway and give myself some clear air, and I'll go faster than you regardless.
Yeah, so that's a good move from Jules Gounod. He's not going to get himself sucked into trying to out-compete or outrun Charles Weerts in the 32 WRT BMW, so you can see the BMW just directly ahead of him going down into the lowest part of the racetrack. There's the number 11 Audi making its way out, one of the last cars to get on track, whether they're on a new set of wet weather tyres or whether they've taken those tyres off just to do another adjustment on the car, I don't know. So up through the Schumacher S's goes Jules Gounod, and just ahead in the distance you see Charles Weerts in the 32.
Interesting note on Charles Weerts in the BMW. Where's the spray? It's all gone.
Oh yes, I mean the track conditions have improved dramatically, one might say. There will be bits of the circuit off the race line where you can see there the race line, that's the lighter grey. You don't want to stray off that. If that part of the racetrack gets drier and drier, and it is going to do so, that isn't perfect for a set of wet weather tyres, because the wet weather tyre is designed to run in these mixed conditions. It likes wet weather. That's what it's designed to do. So look, you see it's running wide coming into the final turn just to keep that wet weather tyre as cool as possible.
Playing devil's advocate here, John, I noticed that when the session restarted, we still had the ComTU Audi number 11 and the 46 WRT BMW on jacks, having not gone out onto the circuit. Did they want to wait to see if a few more cars...
The 11 has gone already.
Oh, they have gone out.
I don't know the 46. I'm assuming it would have gone...
No, they are on track as well.
We saw the 11 leave the pit lane.
I wondered if they were going to be daring and maybe go for slicks at the very end of the session.
Jake, you're getting overexcited
I know.
There is no chance of anybody running on a set of slicks with 8 minutes of the session remaining.
Live and see, you can see the point proven there. Jules Gounod in that tricky first sector, the stadium section. There may not be any spray, but there's definitely still the mother of all damp patches through turns 3 and 4. And as he drops in through turn 5, keep it wide.
Let me give you an analogy. If we had, let's say, whoa, Jules Gounod, what have you done? Your first flying lap and you've blown it.
Oh, Jules. Is that going to cost them pole position potentially? Well, he's got time. He's got time to recover.
He's got time, but he didn't need to do that. But just to make the analogy, now if we had Misano weather, we were at Misano for the sprint round 2 weeks ago. If we had Misano weather with the rain on the track, I would say with 7 minutes, you probably could put a set of slicks on, but we haven't. We've only got an ambient of 12.6, so it is going to be, it's not going to happen. Nobody's going to put on a set of slicks.
But is Jules Gounod going to have good enough tyres now, having gone off the road, to find that lap? So that's going to be tricky.
The wet weather tyre doesn't suffer so much by going off track as a slick does, so it's a deep treaded race tyre, so it will disperse with all the gravel and rubbish that it would have picked up. But it's indicative of just, you can't assume that there's going to be such an improvement in track conditions that you can afford to run wide through turn 6 is what happened. Charles Weerts has made significant improvement. Wow, Antonio Fuoco, fastest overall sector 1 in the Ferrari number 21. Well, number 71, sorry.
Maxi Goods is going to come across the line to get the first lap in. Here we go, 2:08.7. Charles Weerts does a 2:09.6, so we're already quicker than Q2.
Yes, 2:08.7 for Max Goods. Weerts 2:09.6. Gounod 2:13.9. The legacy of going off at the exit of turn 6.
Waku's got traffic at the worst possible time in the lap there when he had a very decent first and second sector. He's going to come through and go 5th. I think he could have gone quicker than that. As now, for
well, that was a 2:08.8, only a 1/10 of a second away from the Mercedes of Maximilian Gertz. So good run in spite of being denied. Dennis Marshall has now number 40 Audi up into second overall, and in fact quickest overall is now Max Gertz. It's now Dennis Olsen in the 96 Porsche. So again, cars coming across start finish line. Jordan Pepper in the Lamborghini. Where's he going to end up? The 63, there it is.
But what that off from Jules Gounon tells us now is that that off has dropped them to 11th on the grid provisionally when you combine the 3 times. So this is going to get trickier.
Have faith, my friend. Have faith. Jules Gounon hasn't won all these 24-hour races, endurance races, long-distance races. He will get that time back, but Jordan Pepper is the driver right now in the 63 Lamborghini, who is probably going to go to the top of the field.
There you go. You just did it.
There you go.
So
2:07.616, fastest single lap so far.
And now Jules Gounon fighting back. The team have dropped to 14th on the grid thanks to Jules Gounon going off the road there at turn 6, but all he had to do was get back in the groove, recorrect his line, and find that speed and confidence again. And he's already 16 thousandths of a second off the best in Q3 in Sector 1, so that is more than good enough if he can get the clean lap finished off to put that 88 Mercedes back into the top 3 minimum, pole position likely. Down to the braking zone for the Vidal chicane. He's got to keep it smooth. Perfect. No problems on turning to the left. No problems turning to the right. This car looks smooth, and he's actually going to get a little bit of a cooling effect in the final turn because there's a bit of water still at that final corner. So that'll cool the tyres down a little bit. Back on the power. Along the straight, this is going to be a pretty quick lap, and this is surely going to put the car back in the pole position. It does. 2:07.7. Brilliant.
Never in doubt. Never in doubt. Now, is that a set of on-cut weather tires? Where is the cutting gun to put the grooves into that? Now, look, I thought about it. I didn't want to sort of play to your aspirations to see a car go onto slicks. I still maintain, and the sun is now, believe me, shining over Nürburgring, but you can still see the amount of spray. Now, there is a dry-ish line, but with, what, 3 3/4 minutes of this session to go, you've got to come in, you've got to make the tyre change. The car's pulling over to the right, coming down the straight. Look at Jordan Pepper. Absolutely. His wet weather tyres are screaming. Take me off. Put a set of slicks on. Be brave. Commit.
Well, that's it. Is anybody going to be brave enough? And especially when you're that fast in Sector 2, the argument says no. Just stick with what works. So down into the final corner again. And it's absolutely Iron Lynx versus Acodis ASP Mercedes for pole position now, isn't it? These two are absolutely at loggerheads.
Absolutely, and I don't know who's going to be the quicker of the two. Jordan Pepper's done a very good run. He stays second, but fastest in the final sector. But the differences are getting smaller and smaller. In fact, that single lap from Jordan Pepper was the fastest single lap overall, 0.4 of a second faster than Jules Gounon's lap.
But it's only a 1/10 of a second off pole when you take all 3 laps into consideration. So Simon Gachet's going quick. I'll tell you what, their renaissance in this session has been mighty.
Kirchhofer as well in the McLaren, the 159 Garage 59 entry. So it's not a done deal by any stretch of the imagination.
And as you said before, John, they're having to come off the dry line when they've got a long straight in front of them to keep those wet tyres slightly cooler so that they've got a little bit more response in them. This is going to be a bit of a hold-up potentially for Gachet. He's got to be very careful where he catches the BMW. Well avoided.
And he catches the 88 Mercedes likewise, and that's Jules Gounon looking for track position, and that's impeding Simon Gachet. He's lost his momentum in that last sector of the circuit. So what might have been a threat to the top 2 has vanished.
Oh, it's not bad though.
But he's gone up to 3rd, so a great effort indeed by Simon Gachet, but that might have been a potential front row start position for the 25 Audi.
They've still got time to do something about that as well, because there's a minute 50 to go. They came across the line.
But he's behind the 88, he's behind Gounon, so he's not going to gain anything by staying behind him. Well, if you go back to Jordan Pepper going quicker yet again, Sector 1 almost by half a second. Up at the top of the circuit through turns 10 into turn 11. So will he be purple in Sector 2? Will he go purple Sector 3? Will he be the man of the qualifying session and dominate by taking pole overall for the 63 Lamborghini?
All they've got to do on average is gain 0.138 of a second. So Jordan Pepper absolutely smashing these sectors at the moment. This is what he needs to do. This is going to be a very top time for Iron Lynx. Are they going to snatch pole position away? So the Iron Lynx car in the hands of Jordan Pepper. Come on, push it out of the final turn. Have you got enough traction? Have you got enough speed?
Dennis Lind!
Where did that come from? As Pepper puts the Iron Lynx car into pole position provisionally.
Dennis Lind in the Barwell Motorsport Lamborghini. Wonder where he's going to end up. He is a master in these wet weather conditions, but it is the 63 Iron Lynx Lamborghini that has now snatched the provisional pole away from the 88 Acudis ASP Mercedes. So there is Dennis Lind.
Lind, he just did a 2:06.4. That is astonishingly quick in these conditions. Brilliant from Dennis Lind.
A tenth or less than a tenth of a second away from the lap set by Jordan Pepper. Nevertheless, a supreme effort by Dennis Lind.
Right, back to Jules Gounon. What can he do? Because he's got to gain quite a bit of time now, because that's actually put the Iron Lynx Lamborghini on pole by 0.205 of a second now. Jules Gounon's got to respond to this. Pepper did a 2:06.3. Gounon did a 2:07.7. So he's really got to find some time here. And with 5 seconds left in the session, Jules Gounon is running out of chances. Is this going to be the Iron Lynx in pole position? Time runs down to 0. Across the line, surely will come. Gounon, he's done it! He's done it! Brilliant, 2:06.7. He's got that pole position back again.
But remember, Pepper has still a lap to finish. So he has still had a faster overall time in this Q3 session. There it is. Wow, look at Jordan Pepper. Just threw the Lamborghini into the Schumacher shed, but he's got 3 cars directly ahead of him, and I suspect that was the pace. Look, you can see already he's 0.3 of a second above his previous best. Looked spectacular, was spectacular, but now with the wet weather tire crying, I'm giving up. I suspect that his wet weather tires will look more like a set of dry weather slicks when he concludes than they will look like a wet weather. He's backed out of it. He knows there's nothing left in the tank, but he will start on the front row of the grid alongside the 88.
I don't know, he's gone personal best in sector 2. He's going to try every trick in the book. He's got slow traffic in front of him. Surely that will have held him up though. Surely he's not going to be able to get this together. He's going to give it everything he's got though. The checkered flag is out. Is it going to be enough for the Iron Lynx to go pole? No, so close.
Was it a boy or a girl? I thought you'd given birth there.
Oh, so close, so close. Jordan Pepper really gave it the beans there in the final sector.
I mean, stunning to watch. I mean, outstanding by both the 88 and the 63. I mean, a really, really difficult qualifying session, starting in Q1 and appalling conditions, improving in Q2 and getting close to the point. Another 5 minutes, undoubtedly, you'd have seen teams throwing a set of dry weather slicks on their car, and that would have been another level of performance.
A sigh of relief from Timo and Lello as Jules Gounon delivers the goods despite his little off in the first flying lap. But wow, that was such a thrilling end to the session there. And normal service is resumed for the 88 Acudis ASP Mercedes.
You have to say, bring on the unpredictability of rain and bad weather, and you will get unbelievable qualifying, unbelievable race, because you've taken away the predictability. Yet, at the end of the day, we've got the 88 Mercedes starting in pole. Who was going to start beside that car? Well, it turns out it's the Iron Lynx Lamborghini number 63, and across the 3 drivers, Bortolotti, Caldarelli and Jordan Pepper, certainly entertained the commentary booth. Jordan Pepper in particular, I've never seen a Lamborghini moving sideways as gracefully as it did with Jordan Pepper behind the wheel.
Well, there you go. Timo Boguslavski, Lello Marcello and Jules Gounon have done the business again. It was very tough. It was backs to the wall stuff, but they have made it work. They take the pole position just from Iron Lynx. 1/10 of a second after 3 qualifying sessions, the average. Brilliant. The Almanach Mercedes creeps back into 3rd position. Great work from Fabian Schiller to put it on the 2nd row. The Acudis Mercedes 87 and Maxi Goetz puts it in 4th position. Then fella Drudian Marshall in the Audi from Mitchell Mapoli and Pereira in the K-Pax Lamborghini. Great work from the Windward Mercedes. They get the gold pole position with Mario Zug bringing them up. The bronze pole goes the way of the Iron Dames. Michelle Gatting getting the car into 14th position. Great work from them. The gold pole goes the way, as we said, of the Windward, but they got a 1-2. And a brilliant performance then in bronze from the Iron Dames. Not bad in the Pro-Am either. Dennis Lind squeaking that car into 27th position with, I do believe, the 2nd fastest lap time in Q3. Very impressive from the Barwell Lamborghini team. You've got to go all the way down to 32nd for the leading silver. It's the GRT Grasser Lamborghini of Glenn Van Berlo who got the pole just from the number 12 Art of Canada ComTU Racing Audi and the Tracer Attempto car of Alex Acker. What a qualifying session. All 3 sessions full of drama, full of intrigue, full of unpredictability. However, never ever count out the Acudis ASP Mercedes team. They know what they're doing, they know how to deliver, and when the chips are down, you can always depend on them to deliver magic. A very worthy pole position then here at the Nürburgring in the Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS, the 4th round of the Endurance Cup. Very exciting stuff indeed from the 3 qualifying sessions. That was majestic to watch. And looking at the brands, we have 4 Mercedes in the top 10, 3 Audis in the top 10, 2 Lamborghinis in the top 10, and 1 lone BMW. A very tough session indeed for BMW. They're going to have a very long race. So, heading down to the pits, let's get some reaction from Q3.
Well, boys, that was exciting, wasn't it? I think, Lello, you had the toughest session with Q1 with the wettest part of the track, but times just improving and improving, and Jules really smashing it at the end there.
Yeah, I mean, we're happy for sure. It's not an easy track to overtake, so for sure to start in front is always nice, but I mean, it's still 3 hours to go, so it will be a long race, but for sure it was a nice morning for us.
And Timo, you've got to be happy with that time you put in your session.
Yeah, I was able to do a better lap, but I was having traffic. I mean, it's hard to hear, you know, to not have traffic, to take a good lap. But anyway, all of us, I think, did a really good job. So at least, and yeah, in the pole position is never, it's never bad.
Congratulations to both of you, and have a good race ahead.
A brilliant run from the Acadis ASP Mercedes number 88 through the wet of Q1, the damp of Q2, and the drying track of Q3. They held their nerve, and they managed to find 0.13 of a second over the 3 sessions over the Iron Lynx Lamborghini number 63 to sustain pole position in fantastic fashion. Great work, as always, from Raffaele Marcello, Timo Bogustowski, and Jules Gounod, the Andorran. Always very, very strong in this championship. And for me, they are still absolutely a championship contender. What a fabulous run. And despite a couple of delays, a couple of red flags in Q1 and then again in Q3, we definitely had a great run. Well done, Jules, the man of the moment, snatching back pole position away from the Iron Lynx Lamborghini in the dying seconds of Q3. It's going to be Mercedes and Lamborghini then on the front row. Q3 started on a drying track, but at the very beginning of the day, it was wet, wet, wet. Very tricky indeed for all 3 drivers in each car to work their way through the session in a good position. But through the 3 sessions, it was the 88 that managed to sustain the pace and keep it fast through all conditions. In Q1, Louis Machiels spun around in the 52 Ferrari, and that brought out our first of 2 red flags across qualifying. On the restart, everybody managed to get everything together quite nicely. By session 2, the track was drying out quickly, and it was the Iron Lynx Lamborghini of Andrea Caldarelli that managed to work his way further forward. There were a starring turn from several cars, including the number 25 Santaloc Audi of Messrs. Mies, Niederhauser and Gachet. Niederhauser was the fastest car in Q2. In Q3, it was nearly Jordan Pepper that got the job done. But Jules Gounod managed to grab the team another pole position. It'll be Mercedes on pole for the 3 hours this afternoon.